So the next thing we're going to do is put this differential cover gasket back on. Then we can fill it up with fluid. So what we want to do, we got to make sure these surfaces are clean of the old gasket material and any rust or oil. So I just use a scraper. And this is just kind of tedious, time-consuming stuff. But again, you just want to walk around it and scrape it off. And after I scrape off any big pieces of material, after I get the material off, then what I do is I go around with a paper towel and some brake cleaner, which is like a solvent, and I'll do a final wiping with that because that leaves no residue and it evaporates and dries and there's no oil left over after that. Got that little air gun, or? I think we're good. All right, could you get me the brake cleaner, son? Well, so I got an email from a good friend at work today who's asked me about the car and how much I'm gonna want for it, and shoot, I haven't even really started on it for the most part, just started on it, but I hadn't thought about, I don't really know how much I'm going to have into it, but I'm not going to be looking to make a lot of money, especially on this guy, because he's kind of a friend of mine at work, a great guy. So I'm going to talk to him about it and see if he wants to get, if he's real interested in it. I mean, I'll sell it to him now and work with him on deciding what he wants to do with it. I mean, I won't make a lot of the choices myself. I'll consult with him on what he might want. Paint color, for example, white walls, yes or no, wide or thin, what do you know, I mean, I got my own thoughts and I'll share those certainly, but at the end of the day, if this guy wants a car like this, and might as well make it to what he wants, right? So I think that's a great opportunity to really make sure I'm building something that he is going to like and what he thinks is cool. Because I think anything on this car is going to be cool. I just love this car. This Buick, man, this thing is cool. All right, so I've cleaned that all off. And I've already cleaned earlier the cover itself. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to one last time on that cover in case I put any fingerprints on it anywhere. I don't think I did, but I'll just make sure. All right, now I'm going to get out from under the car and actually I'll apply this gasket maker. I'll show you how I do that. First, I want to make sure I don't want any dust particles on here. All right, so I'm going to put the differential cover back on. I've got some of this Permatex gasket maker for gear oil, made right for this purpose. So what we do is we're going to put a bead all the way around. It's kind of some thick stuff. I just put a little around here. And that says you want to put a 1/4 inch bead.
Since you started up at the top, I can't see because of the bar. But
that's all right.
Lift it up. See what you're doing.
It's kind of some tough stuff. I mean, it's thick, so it doesn't want to come out of there like super easy. As I use it, I kind of squeeze it up there and then I'll roll this up. gasket maker. Good stuff. Man, that stuff's hard to get out of there. Wish I had like a caulk gun. Alright. Just making sure I got a good bead all around. Okay, then what I want to do, I'll put the cover on. The hump here, so you know you got it oriented it, or it's so that you know you have oriented it right, is the hump. This big hump here goes over the gear, so it goes like this. Now what you want to try to do is, as much as possible, get this up and in position. Without jostling it around too much. And then get a bolt on the top and the bottom. There we go. Yeah. Woohoo! All hands on deck. So we'll just finger tighten them for now. Then we know it's uniform. I wonder if my voice is on. Do you know? Did you turn on the...
Yeah, I'm fairly certain of it.
Okay. Because, you know, that can be a bummer. I'm doing all the talking and instructing, and none of it's taken, and
all the footage is wasted.
We do it over again.
Yeah.
Oh God, no. All right, so now it says to snug it up until the stuff is, you know, starting to come around. We got them all. No.
There's one up here.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
There.
it's under my arm.
You know what size that is?
It looks to me to be a 1/2 inch.
So now what are you doing?
Tightening it, just snugging it.
Until
It's snug, which means there's some slight resistance on the wrench. And you can see it's kind of squeezing out a little bit there, which I think was what they say to do. And then what I'm going to do is then we let it dry for an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
We let it sit for an hour, and then we torque it to spec, which is 35 foot-pounds. Torque specs for things you can, you know, look up online, or in our case, we got a manual with the car, came with the car, an old manual, which is cool. That's got all the torque specs in it. I have a torque wrench, but I can honestly say I think through all my years of wrenching, I've kind of learned, probably to within 5 foot-pounds anyway, about how much torque I'm putting on a bolt. In fact, I remember some of my early training in the auto shop, we actually did torque bolts to failure till it literally broke, so we kind of then had a sense for how much torque a bolt would take as well. But it looks like we got that torque down, and I can see some of the caulk starting to ooze out. So I'm not gonna wipe it off per se, just on this bottom. I don't want a drip of it. We'll eventually gonna paint the rear end here, and that'll cover any caulk that is there. All right, so you want to take a look at the clock, son, and then in an hour
we'll be back to tighten it down.
Yeah, in an hour we'll be back, and we'll put the 35 foot-pounds on it, So it's been an hour, and now we're gonna tighten this down to torque spec, which is 35 foot-pounds, and then we should be all set. Then we just got to let it set for 24 hours, and then we can go ahead and put the lubricant back in the differential. So I'm just going to go around, and I like to do this in a kind of a bit of a hex pattern.
So why do you do a hex pattern?
Well, that's so that it's the pressure is applied uniformly. Does that make sense? So if we started tightening just all down here, then we would be kind of pulling more up there. I just like to kind of go, you know, I know heads, they like you to torque things that way, and so I pretty much just torque everything that way. That way I'm kind of going equally down across all points. That's why I do the kind of a star pattern. I don't know that you have to, but to me it just makes sense. It's just an extra nice thing to do, I guess. Oh, not much, just checking it out. Looking at, what's that up there? Is that just dirt on there? Yeah, it's just some more scale that we gotta get all that loose stuff off before we put the, you know, primer to it, right? The, you know what I mean? Rust killer. Rust killer! You're killing me, Smallsy. They put new brake lines on this, which is, you know, great. But they didn't put it behind the
Clip.
Yeah, and this is actually too short. And it doesn't clip there like it should either. So we'll probably have to get a little bit longer one and do it right.
Because that works, but not.
I mean, it's fine, but it's
Yeah.
hanging out there. This one kind of too. Although I think this one's long enough. They just didn't bend it all properly. I mean, we washed this how many times and it still got on it, man. You know, we'll do one final scraping, but then this is all ready to pretty much, you know, put the
Rust proofing on.
yeah, put the rust proofing to it. All right, so it's the next day, and we've let the gasket maker dry on the back of the differential, and now we're going to put our differential fluid in there. And to do that, we want to make